Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you guys had a fantastic Monday here, or Monday, geez, weekend. What am I talking about? It's not, tomorrow's Monday. Hope you guys had a fantastic weekend. Bitcoin's doing pretty good here. It hit a new all-time, well, it didn't hit a new all-time high. It hit a new weekly close all-time high for it. So we'll take a look at that, right? It got to $107,000 roughly. 107, yeah, 107, wow. I'm just all over the place right now, trying to get my thoughts in order. We have a bunch of good news stories on Bitcoin as well. We'll also take a look at the Bitcoin miners versus Bitcoin this past week. They did much, much better than Bitcoin did, and I track it from Friday to Friday as always. But we have a lot of good news stories here. There's a lot of stuff happening here. We got a lot to cover as well. But we always have to go through this part of the show, right? Not financial advice, for him only. Do your own research. Full disclosure. Below that, hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously, and hopefully the volume is good for you guys. If it's not, let me know in the comments. I'll keep an eye on it. But hopefully everything works out pretty good. I've fixed a lot of the issues that I've had before with echo and everything else like that. We should be good going forward here. So that was good. I spent quite a few hours on that over the weekend, but let's get into what's going on here with Bitcoin. Bitcoin, like I said, on the weekly here has closed right above, well, it closed at, where was it, 106,473. That is a new all-time high close on the weekly for Bitcoin. Bitcoin did get to, on the daily today, got a nice pump today, was up 3.21% and it closed 106,473. The high was, actually on this one's showing me 106,692. So we did come pretty close to 107,000 as it is. We didn't get there though, we got pretty close. So Bitcoin's doing pretty good. The good thing also is that Bitcoin did not have a gap on the CME futures over the weekend, which is good. Like seeing that, that way we don't have to retrace to something down below and things are looking much better here. So a lot of good stuff here. Obviously, the miners weren't trading over the weekend, so we're not going to talk about the miners, but the miners had a great Friday. Were they front-running Bitcoin a little bit? Possibly. I'm not saying that's going to be the case, but sometimes we do see that from the miners where they do front-run Bitcoin, and that's usually like the nice period for the miners to perform well, if that's going to happen here. So the next week or so, I think is going to be pretty telling to where the miners go, Bitcoin goes as well, and there's just a lot of bullish news stories on Bitcoin in general. So let's get into those stories right now, along with where Bitcoin is right now on the month here. For the month of May, Bitcoin's up 11.78% right now, which is good. I mean, we're getting close to April's numbers where we were at 14%. And like we've seen before, historically, Bitcoin does pretty well in May. It's more of a green than it is red. So it's looking like that might be the case as well for May here. We are already, where are we at in May? Oh, sorry about that. Gosh, where's my calendar? We're on the 18th of May. I'm just losing days here because things are going so fast and everything's happening. It's just busy. I'm sure you guys are busy as well. But yeah, we're already 18 days into May. We have about, what, 12, 13 more days to go in May as it is. I think Bitcoin's going to be positive. We might get maybe, close to like 20% on the month here, if not a little bit higher than that, depending where Bitcoin goes in the next 2 weeks or so. So that's looking good there. Bitcoin ETF inflows here for last week. We had a positive on Friday. And BlackRock has continued to buy in, nothing but positives here all the way back here. So BlackRock is still the biggest one out there. All right, let's get into some of the stories that we do have here. Obviously, the rumor. So White House is finalizing, the rumor is the White House is finalizing a plan to sell revalue gold to buy I'm guessing this is 1 million Bitcoin, not $1 million worth of Bitcoin, because if they buy just $1 million worth of Bitcoin, that's not much. That's basically 10 BTC right now, so that wouldn't be a huge impact on Bitcoin price itself, right? So they're saying if true, Bitcoin will explode to 150,000. I think if it's true, and if they're buying 1 million of Bitcoin, that is going to pump Bitcoin well beyond 150,000. We're looking more like 250 to like 350,000 at that point, I would think, because of just the buying pressure that's going to be on there. And then not only will the United States be buying, but also other countries will be buying, and we actually have news on other countries buying as well. So would this be great? Yeah, it would be great, right? How much would they have to buy, or how much would they have to sell Bitcoin, or gold? How much gold would they actually have to sell to buy $1 million worth of Bitcoin, or 1 million coins? Getting myself confused here. So if we have 1 million coins, if they were trying to buy it right now at the current price at 100,000, we're looking at, well, this is telling me 1 to the 11th power, I think. So what is that going to be? That's going to be a trillion, is it? I'm not sure what that would be. My calculator can't even go that far. So if we buy 1 million coins at 100,000, we're looking 1 to the 11th power. I need a bigger calculator for all this. So yeah, it's going to be possibly, maybe like $1 trillion? Would that be it? A trillion? Would that be $1 trillion in gold? Let me know, guys. If you guys have a better calculator than I do, what is that going to be, right? But obviously, as Bitcoin price goes up, you're going to be buying more of it at a higher price, so you might be actually paying out a little bit more. And then it'd be interesting to know what the valuation is of gold if they revalue it, and how much does the United States have at that point, right? So if they sell 5% of it or something like that, what would that actually be? That would be interesting to find out on that. And that's maybe something we can ask AI or something like that. Next here is Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? Just in says he predicts Bitcoin will climb to 250,000 this year. Buy more, do not sell. All right. I've been telling you guys to hold on to your Bitcoin unless you absolutely need to sell it for being alive, basically. All right. Do you need it for food? Do you need it for shelter? Things like that. Okay. If you need it for that, fine. Other than that, you can always work in a second job if you need to buy more Bitcoin. There's other things you can do to continue to hodl and stack more Bitcoin, because there's not going to be more Bitcoin in the next 100 years. Well, there's going to be more mined here, but we're getting to the level where we already have 19 to 20 million mined so far, and there's only going to be about 1 million Bitcoin left to be mined here in the next 100 and some odd years. So the cap is at 21 million. If you own some, you're going to be in a really, really good place there at that point. Next here is Breaking BlackRock just said Bitcoin is a scarce global decentralized asset that isn't affected by the politics of any country. We're going to take a quick listen to this. This should not have an echo with it anymore. So let's take a listen to it, see what they have to say here really quick, and hopefully the volume is pretty good on it as well. Let me know if you guys have any problems with the volume on this.
As a scarce global decentralized asset that's detached from economic, political, monetary risks of any particular country, it behaving like that was an incredible switch that caused a lot of the capital that had been sitting on the sidelines trying to figure out, well, fundamentally, this feels like it should be a diversifier and a hedge, but sometimes it trades like it's levered beta to NASDAQ, and if it's that, I don't need it in my portfolio, but if it's this, if it actually is a diversifier and a safe haven, then I absolutely need it in my portfolio. What surprised me was that just one day, Eric, of that, and all of a sudden the flow machine came back on in a massive way like we've barely seen since these ETFs launched.
So is he talking about what happened here just in the recent 2 to 3 weeks or so? I think so, right, where Bitcoin actually bottomed out here. If we look back at Bitcoin back here, right, this was, let me see here, we hit April 2nd, the tariffs go into effect, right? Bitcoin at that point was around 86,000, and we had quite a quick drawdown to roughly a low. We hit the low of 74,635, and then we bounced right off of it, right? So is he talking about that? Was that the turning point for Bitcoin to be seen as a scarce asset and no longer correlated to some of the other markets? Possibly, right? I don't know if that's exactly what he's talking about, but it does seem like it here, and that's actually here, right? So this bodes well, and this kind of coincides with the other stories that we have here, right? So the next story here is on this one, just in Cincinnati's Fifth Third Bank is ramping up crypto plans due to clear regulations and growing institutional demand, right? Banks are getting into this, right? As regulatory clarity comes into this market, more and more of these will definitely adopt Bitcoin and do things with it, whether it's going to be loaning Bitcoin, it's going to be, custody, letting customers buy it and sell it on their services and things like that. It's just going to continue to happen here as the adoption continues. Next is the White House tells Fox News it's optimistic Bitcoin regulation will be passed by August, right? So regulation, when we're talking about regulation here, it's mostly about the SBR, Strategic Bitcoin Reserve bill, that's going to be in there. I'm sure there's a couple other bills that they're working on as well. And it'd be nice if they actually clarified. Is it going to be the SBR or something else that they're working on there? But nonetheless, if they're pushing this to get done, this is great news. Also saw the reason why the White House and Trump in particular is pushing for crypto and things like that is because they were debanked because of their politics, whatever you want to call it. They've witnessed it firsthand, and that's why they see Bitcoin and other possible cryptocurrencies as a play against the system, more or less, because they were debanked, like some people have been, for their views, whatever it might be, other things. We've heard stories about people that were, gun dealers, things like that, that were debanked because of one political view over another. All right, so this is kind of why maybe the Trump administration is really pushing for things to get moving in Bitcoin and other cryptos as well, get the legislation in place. This is all great news. We need this kind of continuation of adoption here. on this, and clarity as well. Clarity is very important for businesses to plan for the longer time frame and build out the things they want to build out without having the fear of the government then going back and saying, no, you can't do this. Okay, next year, billionaires are buying it. Billionaire Tim Draper says he owns 30,000 Bitcoin and is still buying more, right? He's not the only one that's going to be buying. We've got other billionaires, millionaires buying Bitcoin as well. And they're not stopping anytime soon. It's just for whatever, well, it is retail. Retail is the one that has been selling here recently. We've seen countries buying, we've seen companies, institutions, everything else buying it. But it's been, unfortunately, retail. Retail got to a certain point where Bitcoin got to 100-some thousand, and it's like, you know, it could be life-changing money. If you had 10 Bitcoin that you got in 2017, 2013, whenever you got into it, or if you had 100 Bitcoin, that's a lot of money to you, right? That's life-changing. So those are the people that are right now selling, but the others are still buying into it. So hodl, stack as much as you can, and you'll do much better here going forward. And then last one here is, this is another bullish sign here. The CEO of Binance just said sovereign funds and rich people are buying Bitcoin like never seen before. So let's listen into this clip really quick. It's 33 seconds here.
At 100 million users. But a lot of them are coming through as institutions, right? So yeah, the sovereigns, the semi-sovereigns, the family offices, the high net worth individuals, the allocators, the funds, people that just trade commodities, FX, stocks and bonds in the past are now adding a crypto trading desk, right? So we see a lot. So last year, in terms of institutional investors, we added, new onboarding of 97%. This year, in the first quarter, the momentum is very, very strong.
Basically doubled from that side.
At 100 million users.
So double from that, even from last year. So you're seeing this happening here, right, where all this is coming to play. And the reason it's coming into play is because you have the United States talking about SBR. You have clearer regulation as well. You have all of this stuff taking place. And we're seeing, obviously, Bitcoin getting to 100,000. It's definitely waking up some eyes in people's, I think, that they're seeing that Bitcoin is a hedge against the dollar, potentially against other currencies as well. It is a limited supply. It's going to do, it should, based on math and theory and everything else, it should do very well going forward as long as there is a level playing field available to everyone here. And that's kind of what we're getting with regulations and everything else. So I'm really bullish on Bitcoin here. We could see, Bitcoin get like Rich Dad Poor Dad said, I can't remember his last name, Guy Kiyosaki, I think, said 250,000 this year. I think it's doable, right? Depending, as long as we get, one of these stories of the government buying Bitcoin, or just the SBR being passed, or any of these things happening here, it could definitely have a massive impact on Bitcoin price going forward, especially since we're seeing also the number of Bitcoins on exchanges and on OTCs are shrinking as time goes on. So we're getting less and less available Bitcoin that has the potential to be sold here. And that's going to drive the price up as well, right? Supply and demand. As supply shrinks, demand increases, you're going to have a price go up on it. But, simple economics 101, right? Supply and demand, you need the supply. If you don't have the supply, prices go up. All right, so this is all great news here, good stuff happening. I think this is going to bode well for Bitcoin here going forward as well. Where is Bitcoin going to end up? Like I said, I think it's going to be much higher than what we expect it to be. Exactly where it's going to be. My original estimate was 180,000 for it this cycle. I think we're going to be way up north of that as well. But man, it's a good time to be alive and a good time to be in Bitcoin and Bitcoin miners as well. So let's see how the miners did actually this past week against Bitcoin. And I always track it on the Friday to Friday weekly time frame for both. So the first chart on this is we look at the miners, how have they performed from the last 52 weeks. So the lows and the highs as well. We're looking at the highs here for the miners and Bitcoin and strategy as well in here from their 52-week lows and what the percentage gain is on that. Strategy is outperforming right now. It's up 290%, not only outperforming Bitcoin, but the miners as well. Second best is CORZ. CORZ up 192% from its 52-week low. BitDeer's second there, 181%. Bitcoin's only 110% here from its 52-week low. And then we got Cypher, just 107%, Hut 8, 100%, Bitfarms 70, Marathon 65, Hive 64, IREN 64 as well, Cleanspark at 51%, and Riot at 47%. And then you can see how far away the miners are still from their 52-week highs here, whereas Bitcoin is only 5.2% away, and Strategy is only 26.4%, right? Strategy was at like $530 last November or something like that it was. So it's a lot closer than the miners are The closest miner here would probably be, at least right now, it looks like maybe Core, 42% away, 42.1, and then next to it would be Riot at 42.3 as well. Okay, so that's always something that I like to look at here. On the weekly, oh my gosh, the miners did a fantastic job last week compared to Bitcoin here, Friday to Friday again. When we look at it here, Cypher did 30x of Bitcoin. Bitcoin was up basically just 1% here from Friday to Friday. Hut 8 was up 23x of that. IREN up 19x, 19% basically. Core up 16%, Hive 13, Riot up 8 along with Bitdeer. Bitfarms was up 6, Cleanspark was up 6, Marathon was up 3, and Strategy, surprisingly enough, was actually down 4%. So what's going on with Strategy here really quick? Let's take a look at that one. If we look at the chart on Strategy here really quick, we can see that it got up to a high here recently of $430.35. It has definitely pulled back last week. Few percentage points here, and it closed on Friday at a low of 399. So it's having a little bit of a correction here. Why? Well, I think it's just the rally that it's had here recently has done very, very well on it. If we look at it from the bottom here to the top, where it got up to was about 82%. Was it due for a little correction? Yeah. We need a little bit of pullback on it, right? The RSI got a little hot here, had a little pullback. I think it can still continue to go up here, especially as MicroStrategy or Strategy continues to buy more Bitcoin. And Sailor, still running the show there more or less. So that is not going to change here. I think just a small correction here, but I think with price action that we saw here over the weekend on Bitcoin, that one's going to go up, and I think the miners are going to go up very well as well this coming week, as long as we don't have a pullback on Bitcoin too much. All right, let's go back here. On this one, if we look at the 4-week time frame, things change a little bit here. Now we can see that Bitcoin's up 9% here. Everybody else is kind of, along with Bitcoin here, at least Strategies following 8%, Cleanspark's around 9%, Marathon's up 13, Bitfarms up 12, Bitdeer has had a huge run in the last 4 weeks, up 44%, and then the next best is Core up 30%, then IREN 29%, Hut 8 28, Cypher 25. What do these guys have in common here? HPC AI, right? Those guys are looking to do something with that. And the Riot was up 18, Hive 16 there. When we look at 8 weeks, well, things look even more different here. Bitcoin's up 23%, and most of these miners are now and Strategy outperforming Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin's up 23%, Strategy's up 38% from there. Best performers were Bitdeer and Cypher, up 66% both. Then we had 46 for Hut 8, 44 for Core, 39 for IREN, 38 for Hive, 36 for Bitfarms and CleanSpark. Marathon up 30%, and Riot's only up 23%. And then 12 weeks out, well, that's where things started to kind of change on us. Strategy up 57% from 12 weeks ago. Bitcoin's up only 23. Marathon up 16. CleanSpark up 22, kind of similar to what Bitcoin is, along with Bitdeer up 23%. And then Hut is up 16% from 12 weeks ago. And then we had Cypher down, IREN just up a little bit, 2%, CORZ down, Hive 0, and Riot 1% along with Bitfarms, right? So that was kind of the point where we started to change over a little bit, I think, in their performance going forward here on this. And we can see that in the table here as well, where we're seeing a lot more green here in the last, I would say, 4 weeks, maybe even 5 weeks. We can look back on it, whereas before we saw just a continuation of a drop in red on all of these guys here for the most part. There were some weeks where we were a little bit green, but still was very, very shallow green, I would say, on it. It wasn't like a deep green like we've seen here recently, right? We've seen 23% from Bitfarms, 25 from CORZ here from just 425 date. We've seen also just a smaller week here, but then we had better gains here, 8%, 6%, 5%, 12% this week. So we're seeing these kind of increases get larger a little bit on the miners and Strategy and Bitcoin itself. So that bodes well for us going forward here. Bitcoin, obviously, where it's at right now is doing good. We need it to go up, and maybe even this week we might reach a new all-time high with Bitcoin passing the 109,000 mark here on it, and maybe we can get to like maybe 115,000 by the end of the week. Right, we're not too far off. That wouldn't be surprising for me right now, but we'll see where we get to. So that is all I got for you guys as far as all the bullish news, all the stuff that's happening out there. We still have plenty of states trying to get the Stream Bitcoin Reserve on their bills, on their into their bills enacted. That's going to bode well. We'll see who else passes it. I think Texas is getting close as well. They should be maybe the next ones to do it. But so far we've had New Hampshire and who was the other one? Was it Arizona? I think it was Arizona. Was the other one that did it? So we still got plenty good news coming up here in the next, I would say, 6 to whatever months possible. That's just all going to be positive news. More adoption, more everything else. That's going to be great for us. All right, that's it. Spreadsheets available to my Patreon members. Link for that is down in the description as always. And you get access to our private Discord server there. And it's like a couple bucks a month. You might be able to find a couple spots that are still $4 and $5. If not, you can find it for $8, right? So definitely take advantage of the lower price tiers if you can. You still get access to all the same stuff. It was just my way of trying to limit the amount of members we have there so it doesn't get too crazy. And that way I can still interact with you guys there if needed, right? Because if we have 10,000 users there, it gets a little wild, but luckily we were able to contain it, and it's great. All right, let's take a. I was gonna hit the finish button. I'm not done. I want to go to Q&A. I'm out of sync here. I'm out of, out of rhythm, I guess you could say. Had a day off, and that's what happens. But let's see what's happening here with Bitcoin. Bitcoin's down about 2% right now, 1.84% as it is. With the questions, if you guys could preface them with a question mark or a Q, I would appreciate it. I'm going to work my way up and work my way down as well and see what you guys have to say here. All right. Let's see, covered that stuff here in the beginning. Looking through the comments right now. Let's see here. Love Guru says, Canada sold all its gold 15 years ago when it was worth 700. Wow, I didn't know that. That is interesting. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Sorry, guys. Trying to read the comments here. Let's see. Andre says, miners will probably be red tomorrow because Bitcoin down $1,600. It could be, but they were up Friday nicely, right? I think we might be in the green. I think this might reverse here. Right now, I think the bears are right now kind of battling with the bulls as it is. The bulls definitely pumped Bitcoin up here nicely here over on Sunday, and the bears are starting to try and take control back. I don't think they're going to be successful here. I think there's just too much good stuff here, but we'll see. I could be wrong on that. See, Rax to 50 says miners are barely green in overnight trading. Yeah, it's going to be Monday. We'll see where. I mean, we could start out in the red, but then go to the green, depending on where things go. Let's see. Sour says, if the U.S. is trying to buy 1 million coins, that means BTC is going to crash back down to 50,000. I don't think that's going to happen. All right. Love Guru says, sound is perfect. Great. Thank you for that. Heinz's got a question here. What's with the Bitcoin versus gold, silver hate? They all have utility or industrial needs and uses. Yeah, I have absolutely nothing against those. The only thing that I could say on silver and maybe gold is their price performance over the last, if you look at 10, 15 years, hasn't been great. It has definitely been much better here for gold in the last, I would say, 12 to maybe 18 months. It's gone up, 50% or something like that. So that's actually had a pretty good run up here. Love Guru, yeah, Warren Buffett always has said, be fearful when others are greedy. I completely agree. I don't think we're greedy there yet. We're not, we don't have our neighbors. We don't have, or at least I don't know about you guys, but I don't have my neighbors or people that I know talking about Bitcoin and, buying Bitcoin and things like that. When you start seeing that, that's when we might be getting a little too high up there. So something to always keep in mind. See, Morton says 100,000 times 1 billion is only 100 billion. Doable. Okay, Doge came up with 150 billion in savings. Okay, is that right? That would be only 100 billion? I would think it would be more. Let's see, 1 billion is 1,000 million, right? So, okay, maybe that is it. Maybe that would be it. I don't know why my calculator was showing me an error then. All right. See, Riot says 2.16 billion BTC on BTC on exchanges. That's not supply shock. It's not supply shock, but how much of that is being held also, right? That amount has been coming down. Let me see if I can find that graph of it. Let me see here. Bear with me. Let's see if we can pull this up someplace. Bitcoins on exchanges. Let's see here. Let's see if we can find this here. I wanted a graph. There's no graph on it. Let's see. Well, let's take a look at this. This kind of shows us something here at least. Take a look at the screen here. So this is Bitcoin exchange balances. Coinbase Pro, the last 30-day change is down 50,000. Binance is down 46,000. I don't know where they're about. Okay, that's 670,000. 24-hour change. There's some getting inputted there. Bitfinex is actually up a little bit. Gemini is up a little bit, 1,000, 1,500. But I mean, you're seeing a lot of drawdowns on the last 30-day change here, even on the 7-day, I would say. So you're seeing that coming off, right? Whereas weaker hands are selling into stronger hands, basically. So that's kind of where you're seeing that happening here. Let's go back here. Okay. D-Roy says, big new deposit of copper, gold, and silver has just been discovered in Argentina. There will never be any Bitcoin discovered above the 21 million Bitcoin. Yeah, it is what it is. 21 million, that's all you get. You can't get any more than that. Sarah says, MicroStrategy is way overvalued. Are you looking at the MNAV on that one? Where's the MNAV on that one? I would have to look at it. All right. Highly doubt the U.S. will buy 1 million coins at once. Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen at once either. All right. Creative Media says, hey, Sebastian Wolf, chart looks pretty bullish. Any thoughts on upcoming catalyst with UAE Core 42 partnerships, price targets in a completely irrational market? Thank you. Well, they already have the deal with Core 42 there, right? Can they get a bigger deal there? Maybe. But I haven't seen anything on it. That doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It's just I don't really follow them that closely anymore after they stopped providing Bitcoin monthly updates on it. As far as the chart here on Wolf, let's take a look at it, Wolf. I still have their price here. I mean, they've done a pretty good job here recently. We can see here that they are close to the 100 simple-day moving average. They are up quite nicely here from the bottom where they bottomed out to the top. It's almost 87%. So they've had a nice run here in the last, 26 trading days, 37 days, so a little bit over a month. RSI still looks good on it. So yeah, it could still definitely run up higher here as Bitcoin goes up as well, along with the other miners here. But they're definitely doing pretty good here, like all the other miners are for the most part, bouncing off here right around April 8th, April 9th, whatever it was. They're doing really good. But that's because Bitcoin's doing really good. So that's what we need. We need Bitcoin to go up higher. Miners, everything else will follow suit. We know that there's still a bunch of demand for HPC AI and all that. Now, can the miners and the ones that already have deals, like Wolf, can they get more deals? Possibly. It's just, we need to see it, right? Trust but verify. Let's see if they can get something there. Okay, go back here. All right. Rag says, Seb, you're overly bullish take on BTC is going to get a lot of people wrecked the same way you were calling for 5 to 7x on the miners. Well, that's the only way the miners are going to get there, right? We really need Bitcoin to go up. I think Bitcoin's going to go up there. I mean, maybe you disagree with that, which is fine, but I'm just giving you guys my thoughts on it. And the miners have done, I wouldn't say 5 to 7x, but they've come close to that, depending on when you got into them, right? It's all about dates and times and whatever you want to pull into it. From the bottom, the miners have definitely gotten really close to that. Now, can they still do the 5 to 7x from here? That's a challenge, I think. But if Bitcoin goes to 250,000, some of these guys might be able to get 5x. All right, I'm not saying it's possible. I'm thinking minimally, we're looking at maybe 2 to 3x in these guys here. But that's like the bare minimum of what I think they could possibly do. And then they could definitely do better than that as well. I mean, we've seen the miners here last week do 30x on what Bitcoin did. Bitcoin was up 1%, and the miners were up 30%, right? So that still could possibly happen here. Okay. Oh, Chris says, Rex, I like miner Degen. Why did you change your name there? Change it back. I like miner Degen. All right, Omar's got a question here. Seb, how soon would you anticipate a pop in the miners back to our all-time highs that we saw in February 2024? Seems like Bitcoin could break out this week. When do I think that's going to happen? I think it's still going to take a little bit of time, right? You're talking about Cleanspark being at like $24, Mara being at like 30 some odd dollars, Riot, everybody else being up much higher. That's going to take time. For a lot of these guys, that would be basically, well, let's take a look here on the chart really quick. Let's go to the screen here. Right, Cleanspark's at almost $10, so that's basically like a 2.5x that would have to go to get back to $25 roughly, right? Mara is at $16. That would be a 2x for it also, kind of get back to its high of $30. I think was it a high of $30? Yeah. that point. So that's a 2x on that one. Riot would need basically not even a 2x to get back to its high. Who else do we have here? Let's take a look at IREN. IREN was also much higher at 15, right? This would be a 2x for it to get back to it. So the bare minimum, if we were looking at it just for the miners to do at least a 2x, we're looking at Bitcoin probably close to 150,000, I would think, right? And if that's not the case, then we're looking possibly around 200,000 for Bitcoin to get these guys. But I think it's going to be, at the lower range, but they just need to perform here. And they need to get some love out of the street and get some of the shorts also. But a lot of these guys took on convertible debt, and that obviously has an arbitrage play with it. So they give them the money, but they're shorting them as well. So, and then let's see here, who else we have here? Hive. Hive was much up higher. I mean, that would be a 2x, 2.5x for that one. CORZ would also be not even a 2x for it. Cleanspark, we talked about that one. That would be a 2x, more or less, 2.5x. Cypher would be 2.5x. BitDeer would also be, where are they at? They're at 15, not even 2x for them. Bitfarms would be almost, like a 2.5x. So a lot of these guys, we need to do like a 2.5x for things to get back to where they were just in, like you said, in November of 2024. Right? But if we go back further, they were higher actually here before we had the halving event in 2024, right? At that point, you're looking at higher multiples possibly. But I think they're doable. Just need Bitcoin to go up on a nice rally here. Let's go back here. What else we got here? More Tim says, BTC going up on a buy rumor is not good. Just a setup for failure. BTC probably drops with the market because of debt downgrade. Hopefully not, but probably so. Well, we already had the downgrade here. When did that come in? Friday? Did that come in Friday or Thursday? Can't remember. But we already had that, right? Bitcoin didn't really do much. So I wouldn't really worry about it there. I don't know if it's just on the rumors itself. I think it's just the supply shock happening here a little bit on Bitcoin, right? If people want to buy, it's becoming harder and harder for them to get that Bitcoin. Less and less people are selling as well, so that's going to drive the price up also. So part of it might be the rumor there, but I don't know how much you can contribute to that additional gain that we saw here. Love Guru, thank you. Smash the like, guys. Wes Clark, thank you. Hit the like button. Appreciate that. Wes, you're new here. I haven't seen you here before, I don't think. Let's see. Creative Media says Wolf FUD feels similar to the CORZ bankruptcy. What FUD is there? I mean, right now they have a deal with Core 42, right? For what is it? X number of years and a couple $1 billion possibly. So I don't see that the FUD is there, or at least I haven't heard the FUD. Maybe I'm missing something. Omar's got a question here. Realistically, do you think they'll buy 1 million BTC? Was the Twitter source credible or just some guy? Only 2 states, SBR, maybe Texas. Texas might be the third one, right? The other one is from Arizona, which their SBR is they will use the unconfiscated coins and things like that and buy Bitcoin with it or something like that. So it's not a pure SBR, but yes. And then do I think they'll buy a full 1 million BTC? That's going to be tough to do. I don't know where you're going to be able to buy that. MicroStrategy has over 500,000 Bitcoin, and that's taken them, 4 or 5 years to buy all that stuff here. So it's definitely taken time to do that. I mean, maybe you could do that over a number of years, but buying it in a year, you're definitely going to drive the price way, way high, I would think. You'll get this question. What is the math-based or logic justification of why a MicroStrategy should be valued at a certain multiple of BTC? The yield, I think, right? Well, if they buy it at a lower price and Bitcoin goes up, you should get at least. So the thinking here is, I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe the thinking is if you buy Bitcoin at 100,000, Bitcoin goes to 200,000, you should get like a 2x valuation on that. So that's kind of where the justification for that, I think, comes in at. All right. DZOCA it. Hi Seb, I've been watching your videos about a year for now. Great and accurate analysis. Thanks for every info and news. Greetings from Macedonia. Very nice. Awesome. Thank you so much. And then Karan here. Mr. Seb, what do you think Hive Bitfarms can do at 150,000, 250,000? Okay. If we're looking at 150,000, that's roughly more or less 50% gains on Bitcoin, more or less. I would think, that doesn't mean it's going to happen. I would think that at that point Bitfarms will do at least a 2x, right? If we get to 200,000, they should do at least a 3x. If we get to 250, I'm thinking more or less 4x from where they are. They can possibly do a lot better also. It's just, I'm using like the bare minimum where I think they should go. They could go up much higher. They could go, 2x. They could also, if they get a deal for HPC AI, will they then get revalued based on like a data center play where some of the other data center players are getting valued much higher multiple than what currently Bitfarms is and all the other miners are being valued at, right? So that goes into it as well. Let's see. What do you think Hut 8 can do at same price of BTC? The same thing, I would say, right? 2x, 3x, 4x at that point. Bare minimum, I would think. But again, if they get a deal for hyperscaler there for their Louisiana site, which they're supposed to be building out a data center there, right? If they get a deal there, that could pump the stock up even more, right? It's one of those things where I've always said we're always one huge news story away from one of these guys pumping. Okay, let me see. Omar's got a question here. Can we check how long it took Cleanspark to go from $6 range to $20 range back in 2024, and the BTC price action for the same time frame that caused the bump in percentage? Okay, let's see. We can check on that. So let's see here. Look at from 6 to 20 range back in 24, and the BTC price action for the same time period frame that caused the bump in percentage. That might be a little bit tougher to figure out. But when we look at Cleanspark here, let me go to the screen here for you guys. Cleanspark here from $6, where they were right here, right? This was back in January of 2024, right? So how long did it take them to get to $24? Well, they got there, they came back down. So let's see if we can zoom this in a little bit. See the chart a little bit better. All right, so there's $6 roughly here where they bottomed out. This was right around January of 2024, right? And then they came out. I think there was some news story also that they are fully funded to a certain amount of exahash at that point, and the stock went up basically from here to a high of $23, right? And that took basically just 26 trading days, 39 days in total. And then from there, we obviously went down and then came back up here to the high of $24, and that would have been 47 trading days and 68 days, so roughly 2 months, right? And that was a percentage gain of 200 to the top here was a 258%. First high here was 242% gain, roughly 240% gain on it. So it was relatively quick, right? These guys can run, and they can run quickly. So that's why I'm saying I'm going with the minimums. And at that point, Bitcoin went up. So these guys went up 240%, and Bitcoin at the same time. Let's take a look at Bitcoin here from that time frame as well. We got July. I want January, August 2024, October, January. Let's see if we can zoom out of it. See, Bitcoin went from November high actually, and then January, December, January got to 108,000. Oh, this is a 24. I gotta go back to January. I'm looking at 25 here. April, March, February, January. Okay, here we go. January, something here. Bitcoin kind of bottomed out here at 39,000 and went up to relatively quickly here to here 73,000, and that was 86%, and that was approximately 50 trading days, right? So we had this up here. This was 41 days. This was kind of similar to Cleanspark's first run, then came back down a little bit and then went back up. This was 72%. So Cleanspark went up 200-some%, whereas Bitcoin went up 70-some%, right? So that's basically a 3x on what Bitcoin did. That's kind of where we're seeing that multiple on some of these guys here. Doesn't always happen, but it does happen at times. And when it does happen, it can be quite explosive to the upside on these guys here when they get revalued properly. Okay. Let's go back. All right. Let's see. Wes says, been watching for a few months, just not always catching your live. Thanks for all the details and analysis. You're very welcome. Thank you so much for watching this whole time. Okay. How high Griffin can do at 250,000 Bitcoin price? That I don't know. I don't know what the number of shares are going to be out there once they merge with American BTC, right? That's going to be a telling sign there. And then how fast can American BTC grow to where they want to grow? I don't know. I doubt they're going to be able to reach, 50 exahash. I think like they're planning on getting to within the next 6 months. It's going to be close to impossible, I think. They definitely need to get more and more megawatts than are currently available through HUT 8 and sites built out and everything else. So we'll see where that comes in at. All right, let's see. 1 million Bitcoin is $104 billion. Okay, at the current prices. All right, so it is 104 billion. So that's not too bad, right? I think the treasury there on gold is much higher than that. All right. Let's see, Wes got a question here. Did you catch the interview, Anthony's interview with Ben Gagnon? Bitfarms really appreciate Ben's explanation of short interest on miners and his opinion on HPC valuation versus, yeah, I did catch it. It was a really good interview. Ben provided a lot of great insight there and a lot of good information. So definitely, if you guys haven't seen that, definitely take a look at it. It's about an hour long or so, but it's a great interview there. And Ben did a great job, I thought. Karan says, I still have, what? You got, is that 1 million? Am I reading that right? Is that 1,020,000 Griffin shares at 15 cents? Well, then you're doing very well right now. Where's Griffin at right now? Griffin's, oh gosh, Griffin is $1.39. We could call you a millionaire, right? If that's correct, if you got that many shares. Congratulations there. Well played on that one. Yeah, these smaller guys here could be, lottery tickets. If you get in the right one, have enough in it, and they do something like this where they merge with somebody that's going to push them up higher, then yeah, you're going to, but the chances of that happening are very smaller. So, but it is like a lottery ticket. All right, what else we got here? Let's see. Talked about that one. Okay. What is the next major catalyst on the horizon for BTC outside of just adoption? Gosh, adoption. It's just going to be, it's always going to be adoption. It's just going to be more companies, putting it on their balance sheet, more companies turning to a strategy playbook where they become a holder of Bitcoin, right? They just accumulate Bitcoin going forward. Countries buying, we all obviously see now that sovereigns are buying it, countries are buying it, millionaires are buying it, billionaires are buying it, states are going to be buying it as well. So you got all of this stuff happening, adoption here. We got banks, we got other companies working to make Bitcoin, transactions through businesses and things like that. All of this stuff is going to be adoption. I mean, it's the only thing that's going to really drive is adoption, right? Supply and demand. The more demand there is, the less supply there is, the more the prices of Bitcoin is going to go up. Next question here from Omar. Do you think Bitfarms will recover on AI hype like the rest, or did Ben sell us down the river? Too many companies going in on the hype. There is a lot of demand. I know there is a lot of demand. And Ben laid it out pretty good in the interview with Anthony there. I'm trying to think back, going back to the interview there. He talked about the potential and what the hyperscalers are looking for and things like that. It's all in there. And he laid it out pretty well, I think, right? I'm not going to quote him here because I'm going off my memory here. But the gist of it was that I got from it was that the hyperscalers, they have, when it comes to data centers, they have some of the biggest data centers, right? A couple hundred megawatts potentially, where some of the other smaller data centers, which some of these guys are trying to become, have these sites that are in like downtown, big metropolitan areas like Chicago, New York, other places like that. But they only have like 1, maybe 2 megawatt sites, but they have a couple of those across the city for, efficiency, but it's all about the speed, right? How fast can the data can be transacted and things like that. Whereas the hyperscalers have those a little bit larger sites as well, but they're a little bit maybe outside of the big metropolitan areas nearby, but they have a lot of those as well. So the question then becomes, can the hyperscalers, or will the hyperscalers actually work with somebody that they've never worked before, right? Where they have worked with other suppliers, companies in the past. Can that be overturned? And also, a lot of the data centers players out there are kind of set in stone in the way they like to build things out, right? Whereas the miners are maybe a little bit more agile. They can do things and think outside the box a little bit, potentially. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I don't know if Ben or anybody else is trying to sell us, down the river, basically. They all have had conversations with potential hyperscalers or at least enterprise customers, and they believe that there's something there to be had, right? They have the megawatts, they have the sites and everything else that all of these guys are, scrambling for. But the thing that it comes down to is location. Is the location good for it? Obviously megawatts is nice to have as well, but is it close to areas that you want it to be? There's a lot of things that goes into the hyperscalers thinking about where they're going to put stuff into. There's been a lot of data centers built out in Iowa. There's been data centers here that are being built out where I live. There's a development happening where I live right now. I think it was supposed to be mostly warehouse space and some data center space, but the data center player that's trying to put a data center here where I live, at least, they've, I think, committed to buying like all the sites and land for the other warehouses to build out their data center potentially. So you're seeing that happening. I don't know who the data center player is there, but that's interesting to note that is happening. And there's going to be a huge demand for it nonetheless, right? AI is not going away. It's just going to continue to evolve and get better. In time, I think maybe we'll get to a point where the speed of the GPU chips and everything else gets to a point where, it's incremental efficiencies gains at that point, right? You're not having these huge major milestones being hit, but eventually it's going to get to a point where, you're going to have a 15, 20% improvement. It's not going to be huge for them, and maybe they can deal with what they have and eventually change out the stuff later on. But it's not going to be, but we're not there yet. It's going to take time. It's kind of like, remember when we had dial-up, right? Dial-up for internet speed. At that point, there was not much you could do with it. There was some things you could do with it. Obviously, you could load emails, things like that. You didn't have video. You didn't have music playing on your web browser. But as time got progressed and things got better, speed got better, latency got better, then you got streaming audio, streaming video, live conferences, all this stuff happening when you got to, I would say broadband and then fiber as well, right? And a lot of people now are getting fiber. I have fiber in my house. I'm paying less for fiber for 1 gigabyte of speed than I was paying for like 15 megabytes of speed through broadband, going back probably 12 years ago. 12 years ago, I was paying like $100 some odd, $130 for broadband 15 megabyte speeds. Now I'm paying $70 a month for gigabit speeds, right? So that's kind of where we're going to get to eventually, but we're not there yet, and it's going to take the next maybe 5 years, whatever it's going to be, 5, 7, 10 years, for that infrastructure of AI, the data centers to be built out, and at that point, things will kind of maybe slow down a little bit. I don't think they're going to progress as fast as they are now. But right now, we're in that kind of parabolic rise in the demand for everything else. As things get built out for, AI software, AI, whatever you're thinking of, imaging, things like that, movies, all this stuff is being built out. Driving cars, that's all, AI. So there's just huge demand for it right now. It's just, can the miners capitalize on it? And only time will tell on that one. Talked about that one. Okay, talked about that. Let's see. All right. What do you think about Hive at BTC? Same thing. I mean, you're looking at Hive should do at least 2x, 3x, 4x at that point, minimum. But they could do definitely much better. Omar, you're very welcome here. Love Guru, appreciate it. Thank you. DZ, what do you think about what Ben said in McNally Money interview, that the whole mining sector have been shorted because there's a less and less shares to be borrowed from the companies that have convert debt? I don't think it's because they have less and less shares. I think it's just arbitrage play, right? Like you said, they're doing arbitrage. They're giving them the capital, the cash, right? But then they're shorting them as well. They also had them buy back their own shares. And yeah, I mean, there's something to it as well. But that's playing a small part. We saw already large number of short interest on the miners even before they did their convertible debts. So it wasn't just that. It's just they're playing, both sides. Whoever's going along on Bitcoin and MicroStrategy has been shorting the miners here. And maybe we'll see that flip here a little bit. We'll see. All right. I think that's it. I've caught up to all your guys' questions here. So it's looking, Bitcoin's down 2.2% right now as it is. We're at 104,000. We'll see where we end up at. Right now, the bears are fighting back. I think tomorrow, we might bounce a little bit here after morning hours, I think, but we'll see if that's the case, right? We're already down 2%. I think that might be enough for us. Let's take a look at it here really quick on the screen. If we look at Bitcoin right now, where are we at on the 1 hour chart and 4 hour chart? Let's see how we're doing here. So if we go all the way back to where we are, yeah, but we're not too far from where we started out Sunday at. But if we look at the daily, the RSI has come down here, but price has been going up, right? Look at the RSI here. We were much higher in the RSI over here, right? Price has been actually going down a little bit and kind of flat to up, and RSI has been coming down. 4 hour chart, if we look at that, also RSI has been coming down here, but price has been going up in the 4 hour chart. 1 hour chart, I have to probably zoom out a little bit here. Again, we kind of peaked here a little bit, came down, went up, price got higher, and then we're coming back down. So I think we're setting ourselves up for another, a run up towards the top. But we shall see. We'll see what the miners do tomorrow, right? We might end up starting the day in the red, but end up in the green, which would be nice to see. But let's see. I think I've caught up to all you guys' questions here. I don't think I have anything more. All right, covered that. Yeah, I'm all good with all you guys' questions here. So we'll see how tomorrow is, Monday, and then the rest of the week as well. We'll see how things plan out, but it looks much better than where we were just a couple of weeks ago. So, and we're heading in the right direction, I think. So thanks again, everyone, for coming in. Love you all. Hope you guys have a wonderful week. Hopefully you guys make a lot of money this week. And I will see you guys tomorrow. We'll do some metrics on the miners maybe as well. We'll look at some data as far as the quarterly results. I think the only one that we're waiting on right now is Hive to report, but that might not be for another couple of weeks because they are going through their fiscal year-end numbers. That has to be audited, so that always takes a little bit longer. All right, but I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great night. See you then.